YouTube and Facebook, and welcome to my lives where we start right away. We don't wait for people to show up or anything like that. We start the chat right away. Lots of stuff to talk about. I want to first of all welcome you to the YouTube channel. If it's your first time visiting, thank you for being here. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll be notified of all my new videos that I update all the time. I'm always putting shorts up or reels or something, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. Be sure to give a thumbs up so I know if you're on YouTube. I can see the icon is different from YouTube and from Facebook, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you're from Facebook, welcome. The Facebook channel is growing more and more every day. Very happy about that. Instagram, I don't do Instagram lives because I don't have a really great presence on Instagram. I just kind of do it because it's easy and I like the format. But as much as social media is a very, very good thing, and I started using social media, boy, I'd like to say about 15 years ago or so, to help facilitate adoptions. That was the very, very first thing I ever wanted to use social media for. I thought there was a great tool to help get the word out on understanding that shelter dogs need help. And I did that from day one. I also would post videos of my training at the shelter, of things I saw with dogs, and also, like I said, the Shelter Angel videos, which were, I think there's 200 different animals at the North Central LA Animal Shelter, and every one of those dogs got adopted. And there was cats in there too, and I think something else, maybe like a guinea pig or something. But social media also has its inherent flaws, and that's what I really want to talk about today. And I don't want to talk about it to slam other trainers as much, although I will. What I want to do is make an understanding and really hope that people will see this, and maybe people that I'm criticizing will also see this and will, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? See the light, see a better way of doing things, because there is a better way. Right now, social media, as far as dog training, has become it's kind of like a soap opera, and and not a nice one. Like, it's just become really dirty. And why am I so concerned about this? Well, one is I am one of the original people. People always say that, I'm one of the people who started this whole idea. And I talk to people all the time, dog trainers, who were influenced by me. So if I'm still a role model to so many people, then as much as I led this movement to get it to where it is, perhaps I can shed some light on getting it to where it should be, kind of righting the wrongs, or, righting the ship, or steering the ship back to where we need it to be. Some people will say stupid things like, oh, you're old and this and that. That plays no relevance to me one way or another. I'm older than a lot of you guys, and based on that, what I was doing when I was younger is I would look to older people for their wisdom. The sad mistake is nowadays, so many of these young people look to their peers that are their age or younger than them for advice, which is absolutely idiotic, which is why also the system is really failing. We've lost respect for our elders per se, and there are still dog trainers that are, sadly, they're my age. They're not much older than me, but they're people that I look to, that I talk to, that I ask advice on, because it is important to talk to people who know a little bit more. And chances are people who know a little bit more are probably going to be older than you, especially if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. That being said, who cares? What I want to talk about here is why this movement has gone sideways. And the title of the chat, in case you haven't seen it, is there are no miracles. It's just hard work. And I thought the thumbnail really exhibited that. It really spoke to that, because everything I see on social media, I swear to you, every time I turn on, and I try not to scroll too much, because it really does affect my mood, my overall well-being, mental well-being. It's everybody's a miracle worker. Every dog trainer that I see online, first of all, I've never seen a dog trainer online that couldn't solve a problem. Never. I've never seen a dog trainer online make a mistake. That's always edited out. And the most important part of dog training is moving your way through mistakes. I have made mistakes constantly, and everyone has. I'm not putting myself in a position to, be a scapegoat. Everybody makes mistakes. The greatest dog trainers in the world make mistakes. What the difference is, what separates things is how you recover from that mistake. And if you're living in this social media world where all you see is a 60-second reel or a video where everything goes perfect, and that dog trainer is a miracle worker, you will learn nothing from that dog trainer. You are utterly wasting your time. You might as well go watch a music video. You're not you are not helping your dog training in one iota. And that's the sad thing. That's what you're being fed on social media. Every dog trainer goes out and tells you how great they are, how much they've done, how much they know better than anyone else. And those are the people I would run from. Those are the people I would not take advice from. I would look to find people who are training their dogs, people who show their mistakes, people who show the process, right? That's the key. Because the miracle workers are all snake oil salesmen. Everyone. It's like that in every field. If you're watching a fitness guy who never has to fight the battle of losing weight, if you're following a golfer who never hooks a shot, if you're following a football player who's never fumbled a ball, if you're following a race car driver who's never crashed or lost, you're not following reality. And the sad part, and this is what makes it so hard, is that it's all you're getting to see now because the algorithm feeds you this. And the trainers or the influencers, which most of them are influencers and trainers, because their job has become 90 plus percent creating content for online, right? That's critical to understand. And it's also one place where I'll tell you right now, it separates me, what I give on my online program from others, right? I have a couple courses I sell, yes, but the most important part of my online presence, besides YouTube, because it has a very large free library of dog training videos and a wide array of topics, my online training, the robertcabral.com, the membership section, shows videos of me working with a client for an entire session. So you see the process. You see the beginning, the middle, the stumbling blocks, the resolution, more stumbling blocks, more resolution, and a final solution at some point. But what's important to understand, and this is what everyone is missing, is you don't learn if you don't see the work. This is why I'm so against seminars. I'm so against board and trains because it takes away the work that needs to be done to get to the resolution. And when you see someone online taking a dog, the dog is horribly, the dog is behind a bar, in a kennel, and barking, or is in a muzzle, it's trying to attack. And then you see a 3-minute reel with some soft music playing in the middle. And at the end, it's all resolved. Well, you have to think that that's the way it goes. And it's not. I can give you a great example. I got Shmoo almost 2 years ago. He's a fantastic dog. He's a lot of dog. Shmoo and I have done some amazing things. We've trained and really gotten to some great places. We've trained with some really great people, and there's some people that I trained with that I was like, okay, I'm never going to train with them again. The key thing is nothing in our training was ever, oh, just try this. It was never that. It was never try this. Oh man, that was it. That's what I should have been doing all along. That's the miracle. There are no miracles in dog training. There are no miracles in dog training. I'm telling you that right now. And it's critical you hear me on this. Dog training takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes putting the time in. And more than anything, it takes a compassion, right? It takes patience and caring and the ability to understand that the dog may not be giving you the middle finger. The dog may just not understand. Or the dog may have been taught in a way that is creating these behaviors. And this is what lands dogs in shelters. And this is what lands dogs back in shelters. A lot of things that dogs do wrong, and I could do a series on this. A lot of things dogs do wrong, they do wrong because they learned it wrong. Listen to what I just said. A lot of things that dogs do wrong, they do wrong because they learned it wrong. If you teach your dog a certain something, and you may be teaching your dog a certain something, not even knowing you're teaching your dog that, you may be reinforcing a behavior that you're completely unaware of. And that's what the dog is learning. And then suddenly you see it develop into what it blossoms out. I mean, a sunflower seed doesn't look like a sunflower, but a sunflower sprouts from that seed. A seed of corn doesn't look like the corn that it grows from, but that's what you're planting. An acorn doesn't look like the tree that grows out of it. So it's important that you understand oftentimes the mistakes your dog is making is a learned behavior. And because it's learned and because of the way it's rewarded, it continues to happen. And sometimes it shifts its head. I'm going to give you a great example. A dog that's super barky and whiny and wah, 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 in the work is a very high driven dog, is a very high drive dog, is a very excitable dog. And when you take dogs like that and you build more drive, prey drive, for example, frustration drive, okay, and you keep putting that into the dog, and the dog starts to get more and more leaky and more loud. And it's an issue I had with Shmoo, so I understand. And then you get mad at the dog and yell at the dog or correct the dog hard. Well, you just make the problem worse. And the miracle worker trainers, the social media influencer trainers who are putting their 30-second, 60-second reels up all the time and showing you all this stuff set to music, and you don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see the problems. They're not doing you the favor to help you develop your dog. Yeah, it's entertainment. Yeah, oh, wow, look at the dog doing this. And I'm real tired of all the bite work. I'm just so tired of it. I kind of just tune over. I like watching dog dancing. I like watching the AI dogs chatting. I like watching dachshund videos. I'm so tired of the bite work. I just pass right by it because it's nonsense. You know, a while back, and it must be a couple of years now, I got in a big online battle about all this nonsense, and I had to remove videos because some threats were made, and I didn't want my friends getting, upset. But I hate it. I mean, if you're going to go to a trial and you're going to put a dog through IGP trial, ring trial, something like that, great. Do it. See if the dog passes and train the dog. See if the dog has a good time. But to make it into, a freak show online, and then more and more idiots who have one of these start trying to do it. Oh, I need my dog to do that. And you don't know. But when you, the famous dog trainer, post something, some idiot somewhere is going to try to copy it. Trust me. And you, if you have a good amount of followers and you're posting content, you're responsible for other people trying to do the same thing with their dog. And when it fails, and inevitably it does, that dog will pay the ultimate price. And maybe a child will too, or an innocent bystander will too. So if we want to keep dog sports and not end up in a bad situation where they're trying to outlaw them like they did in Austria and in other countries, then we need to be held responsible. We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. I think about every video I put out. And yeah, here I'm the old guy lecturing you, right? But I'm going to tell you something. I think about every video I put up because I know I get a lot of views. I know I have a lot of loyal subscribers. And my subscribers and followers are much different than a lot of these other people. My people, I can see on my demographics on YouTube and Facebook, I see who you are. Most people 50, 40, 50, 60 years old, responsible, normal people, I'm assuming, because you're watching my videos. But I still watch every video I put out. I don't like showing a lot of bite work. I don't like showing over the top things. One thing that drives me nuts more than most anything else is when people show these Malinois doing this jumping, climbing up the side of a wall, jumping up into a tree, grabbing a tug off of the tree, and then hopefully somebody catches them. Now, in the videos, they always get caught. I guarantee you, not every one of these dogs gets caught. Because they're up 15 feet. You think the person's going to be able to grab them and catch them at that? I mean, they sure did in the video you're watching. But how many misses were there? How many dogs broke a leg, dislocated a hip, twisted an ankle, broke their backs? Those things happen. And the more crap that you show online, the more people will try to duplicate it. And then they'll try to get these dogs from backyard breeders or crappy breeders, online breeders. And when it doesn't work out, they dump that dog in the shelter. Thank you, Kevin. And there's a guy right there that I can tell you, Canine Avengers Rescue. He cleans up the shit that so many of these people do. There's dogs yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, in a local shelter here, a female dog, mother dog, was dumped in the shelter with a box of puppies. 2 weeks old. Now imagine how that would have happened. A Malinois dumped in the shelter with her little 2-week-old babies a month before Christmas. What kind of a piece of crap human being does this? And us, as Malinois owners, as online dog trainers, as media personalities, we are responsible for this unless we speak out against it. And I speak out against it. I try to every day. But you got guys like Kevin, Canine Avengers Rescue. And if you want to do something, head over there and make a donation because he's helping clean up the mess. But more importantly, we need to prevent the mess from happening. I want to put people like Kevin, I want to put other people, all rescues, out of business. I don't want another dog to enter the shelter. And as a dog trainer, I'm also a dog advocate. And as an advocate, I advocate for the best interest of the dog. I don't care about the people as much because people don't care about the dog. I care about the people who care for the dog. People like me, people like most of you watching, people like Canine Avengers Rescue. You know, we're moving into a direction where we're going to have, or we're going to have a revolution. We're going to have to get much firmer. And people who say, oh, we don't need more government, we don't need this, we don't need that, you're completely ignorant. Because if anyone doesn't believe in big government, it's me. I hate it. I hate all government oversight. I think it's all unnecessary until it comes to protecting children and animals and old people. Because if you want to say, oh, we shouldn't have a government, then who are you going to call when somebody's breaking in your house at 11 o'clock at night? Who are you going to call? You're going to call the police. Police is government. That's important to understand. And the shit that's going on with these people backyard breeding these dogs and selling them on Facebook Marketplace, selling them on the street corner, selling them in the Lowe's parking lot, they're messing it up. They're messing it up for 1, good dogs, 2, good people, and 3, the dogs in the shelters. Because there's a lot of innocent dogs that have to die in the shelter. They have to die to make room for the new dog going in. Every time a new dog comes into the shelter's full. They got to go in the back and go, oh, Rover's been here for 7 months or 7 weeks or whatever it's been. Kill him, put the new dog in that kennel. That's what happens. 1 in, 1 out. It'd be nice if they were going out the front door, but they're not. They're not going out the front door. Dogs are being murdered out the back door of the shelter. The front door in a shelter is primarily for taking more dogs in. Yeah, I've done cute videos. I've done a lot of videos on dogs that need adoption. It's one way to get the word out there. I don't do it for the one dog. I don't do it for Gamora or for Macho or for Bo or for Willa or for any of the dogs that we've worked with in the past. I do it to open people's eyes that there are thousands of dogs like that in the shelter. That's it. If you are a social media personality surrounded around dogs or focused on dogs, it's time to do better. It's time to stop this miracle worker mentality and start getting down to brass tacks, which for the younger guys, I'm going to tell you what that means. It means doing the hard work and showing the hard work. I'm going to give you this example, and then I'm going to take questions for the rest of the hour. Years ago, pit bulls were the overwhelming problem in the shelter, and they probably still are. Now we're seeing a lot of shepherds and Malinois, which I knew was going to happen. So what people started doing is saying pit bulls are great dogs. Pit bulls are nanny dogs. Pit bulls have no aggression issues. And what people did is they believed that bullshit. And they thought, well, let's get a pit bull. And they would get a pit bull from, a breeder online or somebody they knew was breeding it, or maybe from a shelter. And they were convinced that this dog is just a nanny dog. It's not aggressive. It's just something that's told to you. They're just telling you they're aggressive. They're really not aggressive. And if you say they're aggressive or they have dog aggression issues or they might be problem dogs, then you're what was it? I forget, some kind of a racist kind of a thing because you didn't like pit bulls. But I'll tell you, pit bulls are not great dogs. Malinois are not great dogs. German Shepherds are not great dogs. Terriers are not great dogs. There are no great dogs. It's what you make of that dog. Because if you go in thinking every dog is great, and you get that dog home, and that dog does one thing wrong, then there must be something wrong with that dog, and you get rid of him and get another one. And that's what kills dogs in shelters, guys. That's what kills them. Lies. Every dog needs to be trained. Every dog needs to be trained. You cannot bring a Malinois A German Shepherd, a Pit Bull, a Rottweiler, a Doberman, an Akita, none of these dogs. Maybe a Lab, I don't know, maybe a Golden Retriever. You cannot bring these dogs into your home and expect them to be perfect. They will have issues. They will bark, they will nip, they will run, they will knock a kid over, they will do all these things until you train it out of them. Until you find a fair method of training and communication where you can make it important to the dog to do what you want them to do. And until you do that, the dog will be a dog. And an e-collar, there's nothing I hate more than people with an e-collar because they think, oh, if I push this button, the dog will come. Well, then how can you push the same button to make him sit, the same button to make him go down, same button to get him to stop barking? How can one button do all that? That's the lie around the e-collar. And as much as I have fought to keep the e-collar accessible for people, for all people, there are a lot of people, and many of those professional people, that I would like to see banned from owning e-collars. And I was talking about this with Jamie Penrith in England, who's also a very staunch advocate and a fantastic human being and a fantastic trainer. You should check him out. He's on the same page. We had a chat the other day, and we both came to the conclusion that we're both closer to the purely positive people than a lot of the people we're seeing on this side. Because the first and foremost thing is utter compassion for the dog. Utter compassion for the dog is before anything else. And if all trainers, especially those of you here online, would listen to these words and make that your primary objective in your mission, you would better serve dogs and people. And that's my rant. Now I will put on my glasses so you'll know that I am 61 years old. And I will take your questions. And do me a favor, since there's been so many comments all along, what I'd love you to do is post your questions starting now and put a question mark in front of it. So I'd put 3 question marks. So if it looks like this, I'll know that it's a question. Okay. So let's see. And thank you all for agreeing. Thank you all for checking in. I mean, I've got people from all over the world here today. We've got a nice group of people, about 110 people. I don't know which one of you are on Facebook, which one of you are on YouTube, but I thank you all for showing up. Sorry, pardon me for looking down, but I want to see, is there any comments? Yeah, so your comment here that 90% of the dogs in your shelter, they label them as pit bulls. It's normal. 90% probably are part pit bull. If they have the blocky head, they probably have some pit bull in them. Shelters tend to do that. It's problematic, I know, but you know, it is what it is. So, okay, well, thank you there for I can't read your name, something the wolf. Thank you. You're becoming a dog trainer. It's fantastic. Okay. Kimberly says, put your question up here. I'd like to know what you think about the trainer Dog Daddy. You know, I hate to comment on other people's training. And if you don't hear me say something good about someone, then chances are take that, you know, look at my podcast, look at people I associate with online. I'm not a big fan of most famous trainers, you know. Those of you know who my friends are, you know who I talk to. And if I don't talk about them, chances are I'm probably not a fan. And I don't really want to go into it, but I think if you can't look at my content and my platform and understand why I would be who I am and be associated with people who I'm associated with, then it's a little harder for me to explain it to you. All right, let's see. Luke, do you view e-collars as poor positive punishers? So, you know, the whole thing, I wish I could show this to you guys. Jamie and I put this, can I put this in here? Is it going to screw everything? Okay. Oh, wow, that worked. Okay. Jamie and I made this. This is the quadrants, right? That everybody sees. Now, let me see if I can delete it. That's the original. That's, you know, positive punishment, negative punishment, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. I hate it because it's so complicated. So Jamie and I made this in a conversation. Some people don't like it, but I don't care. This is really cool. This is all dog training really is about. Good things happen, good things don't happen. Bad things happen, bad things don't happen. Based on this, based on the Cabral-Penrith quadrants here, that's an easiest way to understand dog training. This is the way to understand it. Good things happen, good things don't happen. Bad things happen, bad things don't happen. Take it for what you will. That there should give you all the cues. Now, I like e-collars. I have an e-collar. I use an e-collar. I've used it on Shmoo. You know, it would prevent me from being a competitor in many countries in the world. But I don't care. I don't care about competing with my dog. I don't care that one judge or one organization says, oh, he's a great dog. I know he's a great dog. I know he's a great dog. I don't need it justified by a judge. I don't have that. I don't have that. I will probably want to compete with him because I love the sports. I do love the sports, but not at the cost of my dog, you know? So let's see. Don't complicate things with, is it a pure punisher, a positive punisher? Is it a negative reinforcer? Is it this? Is it that? You know, it gets too wordy. Okay, thank you so much. And I respect the fact that you don't care for him. Jen says, an e-collar is helpful. I have a Malinois and I only use it when I need it off leash. What about Larry Crone? He uses e-collar. I read his book before. It's helpful when used properly. Larry's a friend of mine. You know that. You can see that very, very simply. Tell us you respect as trainers, please, preferably trainers who have an online presence. Well, you know, that I just said, you know, Larry, Jamie Penrith is fantastic. As I think of them, I'll put them, I'll mention them. But bottom line, just look at my interaction online. Look who I talk to. Look who I interact with. Look who comments on my page. You know, there's the problem becomes there's too many dog trainers, right? There's too much information out there, and it's crippling you guys. It's crippling the dog owners because you see, oh, Robert Cabral says to do it this way. Well, Jamie Penrith says do it this way. Well, Larry Crone says do it this way, right? So what happens is even though somebody like Larry or I or Jamie or I see eye to eye on things, we may have a different approach, but we would fully and wholeheartedly agree with the other person, right? That way will 100% work. And this way will 100% work. But you can't take half of this one and half of this one and make it that way, right? If you follow my way, it's going to work. If you follow his way, it's going to work. But what happens when you start watching him and then watching him, and like Nate Schomer, great trainer, good friend of mine, top shelf guy, right? He and I train very similarly. In fact, we get compared all the time. But Nate and I have different ways, and I've gone to Nate's students and lectured them because I don't take on us, you know, training students, but I've gone and done a seminar for Nate students, and he said, "Wow," he goes, "That's a really cool, different approach to it," and of course it works. Because the one thing I can tell you about any trainer that I respect is we all have one thing in common: compassion for the dog. First and foremost, I will tell you that the people that I respect and that I support are people who have ultimate compassion, first and foremost, for the dog. That's it. All right, let's see where we left off here. All right. It says, can't get it right, Canine. That's a very funny name. You're one of the greatest. An honor to be. Well, thank you so much. I'm very flattered. I thank you so much. I'm humbled by your comment. Thank you. I can't stand everyone's obsession with terminology and technique. Yeah. So Beth, that's a great point. I can't stand that either. I can't stand people's obsession with scientific lingo. It makes no sense to me because so many trainers who use all this online, this scientific lingo are doing it in an effort to try to raise themselves above other trainers. That's not something I wanna do. I wanna take something that might seem complicated and make it very simple to understand, not take something that's simple and make it complicated. And I'm going to tell you this, and I talked about it with Jamie the other day on the phone. Dog training is just about the simplest thing to understand, the simplest thing in the world to understand. In fact, you can break dog training down to exactly that. Good things happen, good things don't happen, bad things don't happen. Break it down to that, and you will see that that's how you train a dog. That's it. I don't know why it's so complicated to people. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I do know why. People make it complicated so that you feel like you can't understand it without their help. And my job has always been, or my goal has always been, to make sure you can understand it without my help. I don't want you to need me to train your dog. That's counterproductive. If you need me to train your dog, we got a problem. I need to be able to give you the information so that you can train your dog. There's nothing that I hate more than trainers who say, "Oh, let me see the dog." And, "Oh, the dog won't do this here." Da, 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 da. Boom, the dog does it. Why? Why? When you send a dog away for a board and train, so many of these trainers say, "Well, I spent a lot of time building relationship with the dog." Why? He's not your dog, right? It doesn't make sense. I build a relationship with my dog. If I send my wife to a doctor for something, I don't want the doctor building a relationship with my wife. I want him to help my wife and cure her. And with a dog trainer, I want someone to take that dog and figure out what's wrong with it and help me to resolve it. Because if you're a good trainer and you're going to fix my dog or you're going to change things for my dog, how does that help me? A dog sees so much of training in context. They see a dumbbell, they know they have to do this. They see an A-frame, they know they have to do that. They see another dog, they know they have to react a certain way. Well, when they see me, they feel they have to react a certain way to the other stimulus, to the outside stimulus or distractions, whatever you want to call it. You need to be able to train your dog. Keeping it simple is really the way to do it. Yes, Nate Schomer is great. We like Nate. Okay, what's this here? Okay. A lady I've been following for a while is developing a new tracking breed called the Anubis Shepherd. Malinois and Siberian Huskies make up the genetic background. What are your thoughts? I hate it. I think it's stupid. I don't like people mixing dogs and thinking they're going to make a new breed. I don't like it. You know, it's just I see it. I see these purpose-bred dogs, and they'll breed. It's kind of like thinking you're going to take two really smart people and they're going to have a baby, and they're going to have a smart baby, and they might not. The problem is when you breed dogs, remember something. It takes generations upon generations to instill traits in dogs. And dogs have large litters. They have 6 to 10 litters in a puppy, puppies in a litter. So what happens to those other dogs? This Anubis Shepherd, okay, you breed it, you raise them a little bit. Now, how do you know at 8 weeks you think you're gonna know which one of these dogs is gonna be a good tracking dog? You don't know. You have no idea. So you'll find out at several months old. Now, what are you gonna do with the rest of the dogs? Pets. Well, we'll get them to pet homes. Well, you're flooding the market with dogs that you don't know anything about. You don't know about their temperament. You don't know about the drives. And if you're breeding a dog for something purpose bred, such as tracking or biting, you are harnessing a drive in the dog that is maybe counter natural to a pet dog. So now you're going to have a dog that's going to be somewhat of a tracker, not a great tracker like you want for your championships or for your work, but you'll have these other dogs and they're going to be highly distracted dogs and harder to train because they have that one component. So there you go. Greg, do you think the states should create legislation stating if you want to be a dog trainer, you should be tested using all training tools? If you can demonstrate the proper humane use of all, you can call yourself a dog trainer. That way we can calm a lot of this BS arguments about training tools. Yeah, look, um, legislation to look for credentials in dog training is not a bad idea. The problem is the people who will be mandating that will be people who will call themselves science-based dog trainers, purely positive dog trainers. I think, a dog trainer should certainly be able to use all tools. In fact, I think something like an e-collar should not come into the vocabulary until you have worked through other processes. I don't like there's a lot of these board and train franchises that your dog immediately, whether it's 6 months old, 5 months old, or 5 years old, they get an e-collar strapped on, and we're going to condition the dog and teach the dog this. That's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Although I love the e-collar, I use the e-collar. I use it very, very little. I don't need it much because I understand how to train without it. And is it abused? Yes, without a doubt it's abused. But you know what's more over abused or abused is food, So dogs are fat. Are we going to legislate the use of food? Unless you have an impartial body of judgment that will um, govern dog trainers, and it would be completely impartial, kind of like Consumer Affairs in California governs beauticians, hairstylists. They don't say, oh, you have to use scissors to cut hair, or you're not allowed to use scissors to cut hair. Once you get past that, and it was just like, oh, you have to have a license, you have to take a test, and you get certified. Sure, I think it'd be fantastic. Okay, what's this? Luke, any tips on play fighting with your dog? Well, so on the surface, I would say play fighting is not a good idea with dogs unless you have the ability to kind of back it up. My dog and I, we do play fighting in the sense of the game of IGP or Schutzhund. So, he'll fight on a sleeve, and then I tell him done or out, and he'll be finished with it, and then he'll do it again, and then he knows I can bark, bark, bark until he gets the cue to bite. He can fight until I give him the cue to out. He stays out until I give him the cue to rebite. That's great. Now, some people like to wrestle with their dogs. I'm not a big fan of it because inevitably a dog will escalate, and even in playing, in a completely fine playing way, they will put their mouth on your arm, on your face, or something, and inevitably, you might end up getting bit, depending on the dog. Some dogs, like Shmoo, can take his drive all the way up, like, all the way up, and he's a very strong, dominant dog. I wouldn't do it with him unless it's in the context of a game he understands. So, I would just say tread carefully. Let's see. Okay, I have a Belgian Malinois, Blue Heeler. What are good? I don't know if you have a meal Heeler Malinois mix. What are good ways to keep them in it? I think you're saying two. Well, obedience training is good. Lots of exercise. You can do things like nose work. You can do things like tracking with both of those dogs. Um, it depends. You just have to find something you like and do that with them. Okay, here's a question here. I'm a dog walker who recently took on a case of walking Belgian Malinois. It's Belgian, not Belgium, Belgian Malinois, just so you know. I have walking the, as one on one because it had bitten another dog walker. I have walking the as a one on one. You're walking it one on one. That's probably a smart idea, and I would be very careful with a dog that's bitten another dog or another person. It's very, very important. Okay, well, you got a super chat here. Thank you very much for the super chat. Highly unnecessary, but I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Um, my GSD dog freezes when and won't follow commands, just like a pause button, then will break and follow commands. Very ball driven, but won't even look at it. Well, I don't really understand what the question is because there's three drives. There's a chase, a flight drive, which is running away, a chase drive, chasing, prey drive, and there's a freeze drive. So the dog is like stalking, kind of looking at it. Um, you need to figure out what causes that freeze and work around that. I don't know what caused it. I have to see it. If you happen to be a member of my site, you can send me a video, a link to it, and I can look at it. But if the dog just suddenly locks up and freezes, something is distracting the dog. Something is getting the dog's attention, and it's locking in on something. You need to figure out what that is and move from there. Um, let's see. I want to see that account because that's my dog's name and his mailing. I don't know. You need to figure that one out. Okay. Um, I'm still looking for question marks. Because not only a lot of you guys here talk amongst each other, which is totally cool. I really enjoy that you have that. But if I don't know, it's a question to me. Okay, Pet's Best Friend New York City. I think this. Um, we have to guide the owners to become the leaders the dog chooses to follow. Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of why my content is really based around that. That's my mission, is to make the world a better place for dogs and the people who love them. That's been my mission since day one. It continues to be my mission. So Doris says, just curious what terms you use for the dog to out something from their mouth and also to go outside. I don't want to confuse my dog with out and outside. So I want to tell you something, Doris, and this is something I think so many people make a huge, huge mistake on. People think dogs are stupid, right? People think dogs can only understand things in these minimal contextual ways. And I remember my good friend Danny Craig, an amazing breeder of Malinois who doesn't breed anymore, and competitor in IGP, and one of the finest human beings that I've known in my life, said so many wise things to me, and has helped me so much in my training. And one thing he said, you want to be able to talk to your dog in complete sentences. And I've put out videos where I said the dog only understands the context of a word, and that is true, right? So if I tell my dog, hey, out, then he knows that's out. And if I say, hey, you want to go outside? It's a whole different word. The dog understands the context of the sentence and the context of what you're doing. He has nothing in his mouth, and you're opening the door. Do you want to go outside? He has something in his mouth. There's no door. And I say, out, and he outs it. Don't think your dog is stupid. I mean, I'm not saying that to be insulting to you, but still think that the dog has the ability to learn. Okay, question mark. Oh, there's no question mark. Okay, there's a question mark. How would you handle another dog aggressively charging your dog? Would you get in between them or wait for them to engage and find an opening? I got bit trying to grab the other charging dog. Well, I'll tell you this much. It's a great question. And I'm very protective over my dog because, namely, he could become very aggressive if something like that happened. Um, I would certainly get between my dog and another dog. I would. Um, if they connected, I would choke the other dog off. I would protect my hands because your hands have beautiful hands. I don't want to get them damaged. But yeah, I probably would. Yeah, very good question. Jen, I can't even read that. Thank you for what you do. I too follow mouths that need homes. It's hard to look because I want to help mosquito. I don't know. It's a long question. Well, I'm going to say thank you for what you're doing too, Jen, because it's really good. It's just really small for me to read on my screen. Let's see. I'm just looking for questions. I'm looking for a question mark. You want to get into tracking? Tracking is a great thing. So yeah, Eric Nissen, dog training certification should require demonstration of ability to get results when training dogs. Having watched a webinar should not qualify as a trainer requiring. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But is that going to happen? I mean, right now we got much bigger fish to fry. Right now, my big concern is cleaning up the shelter mess. Let's put our efforts where it needs to be because, yeah, there are unscrupulous trainers out there and there's some bad trainers. And, every once in a while a dog gets hurt going to a trainer. I don't disagree with that. And it's horrible. And I hope those people get severe punishment for it. But there are thousands of dogs dying every day in shelters. So I prefer to stay on that. Yeah, there are no miracles. I said it, right, Armand? There are no miracles. But everybody thinks there are. Everybody thinks take this course, buy my course for $29.99 and I'll fix everything for you. It's bullshit. Complete bullshit. I do not Lamperini, I do not have tracking videos on my site. I do not. So do not sign up if that's what you're looking for. Um, oh, here's a question, Kimberly. I have an almost 9-year-old German Shepherd that loves to herd my grandkids and does pretty good with them until screaming starts. Any recommendations you should take him away for a play train? Yeah, don't let your dog do stuff like that. It's real bad. So many people do that. They go, "Oh, my dog loves to like cuddle with my kids." My grandkids, and I don't do it. My dog, I don't let my dog interact with people unless I know them, unless I know they're dog, savvy people. I don't want people. It's just the wrong thing is gonna happen, and you're gonna be in bad shape. So when your grandkids come over, put your dog away. I do not have online training for tracking. I don't consider myself an expert in the sport. Do you think it's a good idea to train in multiple sports with a 20-month-old pup? Yes. She is awesome in obedience, but totally lost in agility. Yes, yes, yes. Do not just do obedience with your dog. Do not. Do fun things with your dog. Agility is super fun. I do it with Shmoo. I do obedience. I do tracking. I do protection. I do obedience, tracking, protection, and agility. And some other stuff too. Some trick dog stuff. Oh my god. My throat. But yeah, get your dog exposed to as much as possible. Um, so that's all the questions. So I don't know if there's any more questions. Pop them up here so I can answer them for you. But in closing, please check out my online training at robertcabral.com. I don't have any real formal dog sport videos. The site is mainly geared towards people with their pets, people who want to do better with their dogs, people who love their dogs, people who are trying to solve problems. People are trying to learn more, to build a better relationship with them, to help shelter dogs. I've got an online course called Shelter Dog Training that has an amazing wealth, 25 plus hours of videos of just training shelter dogs. So there's so much stuff. Um, yeah, and I do have a video on grief and loss that will help you be a better dog trainer. And like I said, the online um, training is super cheap. It's like $20 a month. So for $20 a month, you get access to 230 lessons, over 85 hours of instruction. You can stay for a month and try to absorb as much as you can, or you can stay for a year and absorb as much as you can. Every week I do Q&A. So if, today when I finish my lives, I will run over and I will do all the questions from members. They get to ask a question every week. And that's it. Okay, great live again. Thank you so much. Here you go. One last question. I want to answer this. This looks like a good one. What's the one thing you would want all new trainers to know? I'll tell you. Thank you for asking that question. I would want all trainers to know that you have an immense responsibility, that when a person hires you to train their dog, they are telling you, I trust you with my dog. I trust you with the most important thing in my life besides my wife, husband, or children. You must take that responsibility very seriously. Very seriously. You must have compassion for the dog. You must try to understand why the dog is making the mistakes they're making and figure it out. And oftentimes it's the human's fault. And put the dog first because the dog does not have a voice. You, as a trainer, become the voice for the dog. And you must do that. You must take that real seriously. I think another question popped up too. Okay, what's this? Looks like a technical question. My 1.5-year-old Malinois knows markers, no and terminal. Sometimes corrections make him shut down, lie down, roll belly. How can I correct without causing fear? Well, you're obviously correcting the dog too hard. You might be being too firm with the dog. I don't know what's with your dog. I don't know the situation, but a terminal marker means it's an end marker, like it's the finish marker. Um, and if you say no, you need to also have a yes. So I don't like to just end things on no, don't do that. That's it. We're done. Whatever. I like to end things. No, done. What made a mistake, and then yes, and then continue. And then I use a done command when I finish the training or finished. Okay, we're done. Whatever command. But you might be being a little bit hard on the dog. Let's see. Yeah, lead with integrity. That's a big thing. Um, okay, what's this question here? Do you believe breeders should have contracts with return clauses for their dogs? Yes, 1000%. 1000%. I should be a law that any breeder who sells a dog is 100% obligated to take that dog back for life. That's it. That's it. No questions asked. Yeah, for sure. And if they can't take the dog back, then they have to bring the dog to a shelter and pay a fee, a relinquishment fee, and put it down. And that dog has a microchip. So if you abandon that dog and it's found, you're responsible for it. And if it's found twice, you get a bigger penalty. I could so easily, write this legislation that would work. Um, well, so what you're saying, Luke, is a dog that has extreme prey drive but lower food and toy drive. So toy drive eventually or inevitably is coupled with prey drive. Your dog is distracted, right? So your dog lacks focus. So if the dog is willing to chase a squirrel but not play tug with you instead, one, the tug isn't, you haven't made it as much fun and as rewarding because the squirrel he never catches. The tug he actually gets to catch and gets to play with. So you need to reevaluate how you taught the game to your dog and teaching the game of playing. I'm going to eventually do a course on a mini course on that because I think it's really important. But you just need to reevaluate your training with them. So I'll take this as the very, very last question. Kim, what are your thoughts on board and trains and how often little they actually come out to train? I've been to a training program where they barely took out clients' dogs. Well, that's an unscrupulous trainer. There are good board and train trainers. I don't like board and train training generally because I'll tell you the way board and train works. They charge you a lot of money. The dog lives in a crate or a kennel at the house, and they get 3 sessions a day, which are probably 15, 20 minutes each, and maybe they get a couple play sessions. Usually, they don't live like a dog in your home. If somebody wanted to do a real board and train, they would charge a lot of money, and then they would um, live in the home like a family dog and get training that way. That would be the only way. Oh, I'm gonna get this one because I love your videos. I wish the government would actually do these basic things to protect dogs. How anyone can bring a dog into the world, make money from that dog, and then be relinquished anymore. Yeah, you are 1000% right. And you want to follow a great account, check out Little Dog Big World. You post such great content because little dogs are so often overlooked um, as far as training, and you're doing a fantastic job with training those little dogs and showing that those little dogs are real dogs and they need training just like big dogs. And it's one of my pet peeves. I see it all the time. I was walking down the street here the other day, and this little dog's just lunging at my dog, lunging, aggressively barking. And the owner's like, "Oh, it's okay." Well, it's not okay. Because if your dog gets off leash and attacks my dog's going to fight back. That's normal. And if you want to see that account, Little Dog Big World, great stuff on Facebook, showing the responsible way to train little dogs. I really enjoy your content. So that's it, guys. I got to hop off because I'm jumping over now to my member section. So if you're a member, hop over there, and I'll see you there.